scratching outside his tent. He thought it was the wind dragging claws across the brittle surface of the Martian sand. His camp, pitched on the edge of the Valles Marineris research zone, was battered by nightly gusts, and the alien atmosphere often carried strange sounds. But this was different. The scraping was rhythmic, hesitant, like something alive dragging itself toward him. Elias straightened from his workstation, his eyes darting to the faint glow of the lantern swaying in the corner. His camp was solitary. NASA had pulled the rest of the crew back after a communications blackout 2 weeks ago. He had volunteered to stay behind, stubborn as always, because the caves in this section of the canyon held mineral samples that no one had yet catalogued. Minerals that shimmered faintly when touched by light. Minerals he believed were evidence of something far older than water ever was. But tonight, those minerals were forgotten. The scratching came again, closer now. Elias swallowed, pulled on his respirator mask, and stepped out of the tent. The Martian night was bitter cold, a vast red expanse under a black sky peppered with stars. His boots crunched against the frozen sand as his lantern cast long, distorted shadows. And then he saw it. Crouched at the edge of his equipment crates was a small, hunched figure. At first he thought it was some kind of malformed dog or desert scavenger, except Mars had none. Its body was covered in a mottled hide that shimmered faintly like polished obsidian, and its limbs were strangely jointed, too long for its size. But it was the face that caught him off guard, two huge, milky white eyes that stared blindly into the light, reflecting nothing. It whimpered. Not a sound of hunger. Not a sound of threat. A sound of pain. Elias froze, torn between instinct and curiosity. The scientist in him wanted to rush forward, examine the thing, study it. The human in him wanted to step back and seal the tent flap forever. But when the creature stumbled forward, claws scratching in the sand, and collapsed with a pitiful cry, his decision was made for him. He rushed to its side. The alien was trembling violently. Its breathing was shallow, ragged, like a bellows on its last gasp. Its eyes rolled uselessly in their sockets, unfocused. And as Elias crouched near, he realized something that made his stomach twist. Its blindness wasn't natural. The tissue around its eyes was scarred, swollen, inflamed, an infection. Elias had seen it before. Not on Mars but on Earth. In the clinics of rural Africa where he once volunteered, treating children with eye infections from unsanitary water. He had recognized the look immediately. He stared down at the trembling creature. "You poor thing." It let out another soft whimper, its clawed hand pawing weakly at his leg, as though it somehow understood he wasn't a threat. For the first time in months, Elias felt a surge of something other than loneliness and obsession. He felt responsibility. Inside the tent, he set the creature gently on a folded thermal blanket. It hissed faintly at the sudden warmth, but didn't resist. Elias rummaged through his medical kit, his hands shaking slightly. He had no idea what this thing's biology was like, but the inflammation around its eyes was unmistakable. Bacterial. He thought of the simplest, most universal treatment he carried, sterile saline drops. He hesitated. If its biology was too different, it could kill it. If he did nothing, it would certainly die anyway. The creature whimpered again, tilting its ruined eyes toward him as though sensing his presence. Elias sighed. "All right, little one. Let's take a chance." He carefully tilted back its head and dripped a few saline drops into the swollen sockets. The alien jerked, claws twitching, but then relaxed. A shudder passed through its body. Its breathing steadied. Elias sat back, watching in stunned silence as the milky surface of the eyes seemed to quiver. The swelling wasn't gone, not yet, but something was changing. The alien's chest rose and fell more evenly now, the tension in its limbs easing. It nestled into the blanket like a child. Elias felt his throat tighten. He had just treated the first alien life form humanity had ever encountered, using nothing more than earth saline drops. For the next 3 days, Elias nursed the creature in secret. He documented everything, but cautiously. He wasn't sure how NASA would react if they knew. They had strict protocols, and he had already broken a dozen by even bringing the alien inside. But the scientist in him couldn't stop. The creature ate small amounts of ration paste when he offered it, though it always sniffed the food first, uncertain. It drank distilled water greedily. And every time he applied the drops, the cloudiness in its eyes lessened. By the fourth day, it looked at him. Not blindly, not vaguely, but looked. Its pupils, narrow and slitted like a reptile's, contracted in the lamplight. Its head tilted curiously, and for the first time, Elias felt the weight of its intelligence. This wasn't a dumb animal. "Can you see me?" Elias whispered, as though speaking to a child. The alien blinked. Then, slowly, it reached a clawed hand toward his face. The touch was gentle, hesitant, but deliberate. Elias let out a shaky laugh. "Well, I'll be damned." That night, something strange happened. Elias woke to a sound, a hum, low and resonant, vibrating through the tent walls. The alien was sitting upright on the blanket, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Its chest expanded as it let out a series of soft tones, almost like singing. The air seemed to thrum in response, as though the sound carried beyond the tent, into the very atmosphere. Elias sat up, heart pounding. "What are you doing, little one?" The alien ignored him. Its voice rose, weaving a haunting melody. Elias didn't understand, but he felt it. The song wasn't for him. It was a signal. The realization hit him like a blow. He wasn't just curing an animal. He had healed someone's pet. And if it had an owner, that owner was coming. The next morning, Elias barely touched his breakfast. He couldn't shake the unease from the night before. The creature, however, seemed more energetic than ever. It prowled around the tent, inspecting every object with newfound sight. It batted at dangling cords, sniffed at sample boxes, even tried to drag one open with its claws. "Hey!" Elias chided gently, pulling the box away. The alien tilted its head, eyes gleaming with mischief, and chirped, a sound eerily similar to laughter. Elias exhaled slowly. "You're trouble, aren't you?" The alien chirped again, louder. He found himself smiling despite the dread gnawing at his gut. But when he stepped outside later to check his instruments, the smile faded. Something massive had disturbed the sand near the canyon rim. Tracks, deep, circular impressions unlike anything natural, stretched across the horizon. Elias froze, lantern trembling in his grip. Something was already here. That night, the humming returned. Louder. Elias tried to sleep, but every vibration rattled through his bones. The alien sang with growing urgency, its glowing eyes locked on the canyon's edge as though expecting something. When the first beam of light tore across the Martian sky, Elias's worst fear was confirmed. Not a star. Not a satellite. A ship. It descended slowly, silently, vast and alien in its geometry, blotting out the constellations above. Elias stumbled back, eyes wide. His heart thundered in his chest. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries, but no one had ever imagined this. And inside his tent, the little creature purred with excitement. Its owner had arrived. The owner revealed. The ship's descent shook the Martian ground. Elias gripped the tent pole, his breath caught in his throat, as waves of dust billowed across the canyon floor. The craft wasn't like any human design. No engines visible, no heat signature, no roar of propulsion. It glided silently, impossibly, until it hovered 100 meters above the surface. His heart pounded. He had dreamed of this moment, imagined it in sterile lecture halls and late-night research debates. First contact. But nothing could have prepared him for the sheer presence of the vessel. Its hull was a living tapestry of light and shadow, folding in on itself like it breathed. The creature in his tent gave a sharp chirp and bolted outside, bounding into the red dust with surprising speed. Elias stumbled after it, coughing against the storm of grit kicked up by the landing. The ship pulsed once, like a heartbeat. Then a seam opened along its underside, spilling radiant light. Figures emerged. At first they were only silhouettes, towering against the glow. Then the light dimmed, revealing them in detail. Elias's blood ran cold. They were enormous, easily 3 meters tall, their frames both elegant and terrifying. Their skin shimmered like molten metal, constantly shifting patterns across their bodies, as though their flesh itself was a living mosaic. Their heads were elongated, crowned with what looked like crystalline ridges. Their eyes glowed faintly, catching every reflection of the dust storm. But it wasn't their size or alien features that froze Elias, it was their posture. Regal. Commanding. Predators. The creature Elias had nursed back to health bounded toward them with a joyous screech. It leapt into the arms of one of the towering beings, who caught it effortlessly, holding it as gently as a parent holds a child. The giant tilted its head toward Elias. Elias's knees nearly buckled. He realized with dawning horror that he had not nursed an animal back to health. He had saved the cherished companion of something so far beyond humanity's place in the cosmos that he suddenly felt like an insect beneath their gaze. The alien holding the creature emitted a low, resonant tone. Elias felt it vibrate in his chest. Another stepped forward, its crystalline crest glowing softly, and raised a hand in a gesture he instinctively understood as wait. Then, impossibly, a voice echoed inside his skull. "You touched what is ours." Elias staggered back. What? You can speak." The being's head tilted. The voice came again, not through sound, but directly in his mind. "We reach. You hear." Primitive tongue. Slow. Elias's mouth went dry. Telepathy. Or something close enough. He swallowed hard, fighting the urge to run. "I didn't mean harm. Your creature, it was dying. Infected. I helped." The alien cradling the smaller being emitted a series of tones, deeper than before. The little creature chirped happily, rubbing its now clear eyes against its guardian's metallic chest. The voice returned in Elias's head, colder this time. "You altered its sight. What manner of weapon is this? Drop." Elias blinked. "Weapon? No, it's medicine. Saline. Just salt water, sterile. It washes away infection." The beings turned their glowing eyes to one another. A chorus of faint hums rippled between them, too layered for Elias to comprehend. Finally, the one in front stepped closer. Its sheer size made Elias feel like a child. "You healed with water." Elias's voice cracked. "Yes." The alien extended a hand the size of a shovel. Its skin shimmered in waves as though reflecting 1,000 lifetimes. Slowly, it crouched until its eyes were level with Elias's. "We carried it across the stars. We could not heal it. Our craft, our suns, our sciences, all failed." Its voice deepened, vibrating through Elias's bones. "But you, a fragile thing of dust and air, used water." Elias licked his lips nervously. Sometimes the simplest solutions work. On Earth, infections like that are common. We've been treating them for centuries. The alien was silent for a long moment. Then it raised its head toward the ship and emitted a resonant command. The other giants stepped aside. A new figure emerged. This one was different. Where the others towered like living statues, this being was cloaked in a mantle of flowing light, its crystalline crest stretching higher, almost like a crown. Every step it took resonated in the ground. The others bowed their heads slightly as it approached. Elias's stomach twisted. This is their leader. The crowned alien studied him with piercing, molten eyes. For a moment, the silence was suffocating. Then its voice filled his mind, calmer, but far heavier than the others. "You cured my child's companion." Elias blinked. "Child." He looked again at the small creature, nestled protectively against the chest of the giant. Realization struck him like lightning. It wasn't a pet. It was a guardian beast, a bonded protector to one of their young. A creature so important to their society that its loss would have been devastating. Elias's throat tightened. He had stumbled into something far greater than he imagined. Yes, he managed to whisper. I did what I could. Anyone would have. The leader's gaze sharpened. No. Not anyone. You had no knowledge of its blood, its form, its breath. Yet you tried. And it lives. The smaller creature chirped again, climbing slightly on its guardian's arm and staring at Elias with bright, healed eyes. For the first time, Elias thought he saw recognition. Affection. The leader extended a hand, massive, gleaming, impossibly alien. For a heartbeat, Elias thought it meant to crush him. But then he realized, it was offering. Rise, human. You are marked. Elias's legs trembled as he straightened. Marked? For what? The leader's eyes blazed brighter. For remembrance. The next hours blurred. The aliens did not kill him. They did not abduct him. Instead, they studied him, not with cold instruments, but with questions. Through their mental voices, they pressed into his memories, his knowledge of medicine, earth, humanity itself. Elias told them of saline drops, antibiotics, surgeries. He told them of how humans fought blindness on their own world. He told them of mothers in poor villages crying when their children opened their eyes to the world again. And the aliens listened. For beings who could traverse the stars, their awe at something so simple was humbling. They had mastered energy, space, dimensions Elias couldn't begin to fathom. But in the small battle against infection, humanity had something they lacked. When the interrogation, conversation, ended, the leader spoke once more. You healed what we could not. This, we do not forget. You are fragile, yet in fragility lies strength. Humanity will be remembered. Elias's voice cracked. Remembered how? The leader's gaze was unreadable. That depends on what you choose when the time comes. At dawn, the ship prepared to leave. The smaller creature breathed now, boarding was restored hesitated before boarding. It turned back toward Elias, chirped swiftly, and for a moment, he swore he felt its voice brush his mind. Thank you. 10BT vanished into the radiant interior. The leader gave Elias one final look. We crossed stars to reclaim what was ours. But we live with something greater, knowledge of you. The ships seem closed. Its body shimmered, folding into light. And then, without sound, it was gone vanishing into the black sky. Elias stood alone in the Martian dust, staring at the empty horizon. He felt small, insignificant. And yet, he knew with Benedict certainty that tonight, humanity had been noticed. Not for war, not for weapons, not for conquest, but for kindness. He had cured an alien's blindness with Earth's drops. And in doing so, he had drawn the gaze of something vast. The question now lingered like a shadow over each soul. When they returned because he knew they would. Would humanity be ready?